Gibson licenses its trademark and brand for use in a video game. David Gilmour savagely attacks ex-Pink Floyd bandmate Roger Waters as an anti-Semite and Putin apologist. And the Grammys puts on the most shallow, narcissistic, and blatantly satanic shit show of all time. All that next on Shitpost Friday. Hey, how's it going, dudes and dudettes? Brad the Guitarologist here. First up, the mic of the week. This is the mic of the week. It's a AKG D200E. I have featured this on the channel a few weeks back, and I wasn't really using the right kind of outboard equipment. I really wasn't satisfied with the sound I was getting, but I think I've gotten it a little bit better this time. Let me know what you think about this microphone of the week down in the comments below. Okay, first up in the news, we're going to rush right into this. We've got Guild Guitars, Cordoba, and some other companies finding a new home at Yamaha here. So Yamaha has acquired Cordoba, Humacase, DeArmond, which is a pretty cool old legacy brand, Savarez, which makes a lot of like classical guitar related stuff, strings and so forth, and Aquila products. So this is pretty big news, really, as far as acquisitions go. You know, Guild, of course, pretty big brand of acoustic guitar and have been since the 1950s. They were famously started as a spin-off of Epiphone whenever Epiphone left New York to become part of the Gibson brands. They were kind of driven out by the unionized workforce at the time, and then the people who were left behind, they formed Guild Guitars and continued on in New York City for a time as Guild Guitars, and they, you know, eventually moved to New Jersey and some other places. Were bought out by Fender in the early 2000s, around the year 2000 actually, and now they have been purchased by Yamaha, which is an interesting development. I've always been a huge fan of Guild Guitars. I was actually playing one on the live stream over on Locals just last night. If you want to check that out, I will put a link down in the description if you or in a pinned comment somewhere if you want to check out my Locals. It's really starting to take off over there on Locals. If you have not checked it out yet, you are kind of missing out, and you should at least go follow, if not subscribe and become a member. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they do with the line of Guilds in particular, and also DeArmond. You know, that is a very classic legacy brand name. They were really famous in the 60s and 50s, and even before, if I recall correctly, doing pickups and things like that. It would be really cool if they would come out with a line of pickups that were DeArmond pickups that were modeled after the old vintage style pickups. That would be really cool. In my book, that's the best thing that could possibly be done with the DeArmond brand, is bring back some of those legacy products and try to do it in a really nice way. You know, have the cases really nicely nickel plated and stuff, and, you know, well made like they were back in the day, or at least try to come close. You know, I don't expect them to nail that sort of thing, but it would be neat if they would actually reissue some of that old stuff and try to come close. DeArmond being such a cool old legacy brand like that. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with Guild for sure. Where they're going to be made. Are they going to move the brand exclusively to Japan, being that it's Yamaha? Or are they going to try to keep a USA line? Or, you know, basically what are they going to do with it? It would be nice if they would keep at least part of the line in the US and try to build some guitars here, but I would totally understand if they moved it all to Japan or even elsewhere. Next up in the news, I thought this was kind of interesting. If you live in, where is this? This is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, at the Gerald R. Ford Presidential Museum, of all places, which is just weird to me that this would be there. But America at the Crossroads, the Guitar and a Changing Nation, is a traveling exhibition that's curated by the National Guitar Museum. The exhibit traces the importance of the guitar's role throughout history in relation to social events and cultural movements. They have a bunch of guitars on display. Looks like they have 40 guitars spanning archival to electric, alongside interactive videos and things. So yeah, I mean, if you're into like a museum type experience and you like guitars, this might definitely be something to check out if you already live in the area of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Looks like they've got some pretty old historical examples there as well. The hell? chewing on a hair. Also in the news this week, I saw this. So Gibson Epiphone have lent their license, have licensed their trademark and brand names to this company to create a video game wherein the main character uses these guitars to destroy his enemies, essentially. So he's I dare I say it, he's using guitars as a weapon. Every time I have a video with guitars as a weapon, it's almost always demonetized. But hopefully this won't happen in this case, since it's all animation. Is this even going to play? I don't even know if this is going to play. Maybe it will. So you can see here he's using like a flying V in some of these clips. You'll see other clips of the action where he's using like an ES335 here, Explorer, SG style guitars. And it says Epiphone, but it also, you know, of course, says Gibson right there on the main title page for the game, which is called Hi-Fi Rush. So yeah, if you want to check that out, that is available now on Game Pass, Xbox Series, and PC. But, you know, it kind of recalls that time that, you know, Mark Agnesi came out and started talking about playing authentic and started talking about, you know, people who wanted to license their brands and stuff to get in touch with them because they were open to discussions about licensing the brand for different things. And, you know, going for this whole lifestyle brand experience, you know. And this is kind of part of that, I would imagine. This is part of their strategy to exploit these licenses that they have. And it kind of makes me wonder how this relationship came about and who approached who in this scenario. It would have had to be surely the game developers approaching Gibson, but it would also not surprise me if Gibson had the idea and the brainstorm to create a game where the guitars were used as weapons, and they approached the developer to have this done, and it went that direction instead of the other direction. Vote down below. Which direction do you think this went? Do you think Gibson approached the game developer, or do you think the game developer approached Gibson to secure the licenses? Just put in your comment Gibson or developer, and we'll see how many people believe it's Gibson that did the initiating, or whether it was the developer that did the initiating and asked Gibson. If you look at the game credits, if we search for Gibson down here, you'll see generous and full support from Gibson. All trademarks, patents, copyrights, moral rights. I've never heard that in legalese. Moral rights. And all other proprietary rights, registered or unregistered, used, owned, or licensed by Gibson throughout the world, including, but not limited to, Gibson, Epiphone, KRK, Les Paul, Flying V, SG, ES, Les Paul body design, Flying V body design, SG body design, ES body design, Explorer body design, Dove. I mean, they've covered all their bases here. The Bell Truss Rod cover, as well as any other Gibson used or owned. What is that? Oh, owned by Gibson or its affiliates, which appear in game. All rights reserved. Use of the Gibson trademarks, patents, and copyrights is limited to the game and may not be used outside of the scope of this release. So that's interesting, because if this game takes off and the developers of the game want to capitalize on the popularity of the game, yeah, by this little bit of legalese here, that they would not have the rights to use, like, have the character holding a Gibson guitar, like in a, you know, a threatening manner or something on a t-shirt or whatever, or some other bit of swag. They wouldn't have the rights for that. I guess they might have to go back to Gibson and secure those rights or renegotiate those rights. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting that Gibson actually has found another avenue to exploit their trademarks or their IP that they have so vigorously been protecting of late. Okay, also in the past week, or past few days actually, I did see this story where David Gilmour retweeted a tweet that was posted by his wife, Polly Samson, who he has been married to, I think, you know, since the 80s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even the late 70s. But I think they were married in the mid 80s. She wrote a lot of the lyrics for A Momentary Lapse of Reason, and also the Division Bell. You know, she wrote some of the, you know, some really good lyrics, I thought, for the band. Now, do they hold up to the Roger Waters era lyrics? You know, you can be the judge of that. I say not really. High Hopes is probably one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs, and she did write the lyrics for that. So kudos to her for that. However, I just think this is some really low, really almost desperate sounding, really sad, mentally deficient. I don't know what else to call this, but this is the kind of crap. This is just, you know, we've gotten into this point where any kind of questioning of a war that we're supposed to be all supporting, and we have to put these hashtags, and we have to change our photos or our profiles and all this crap to reflect our support for the war in this particular place that's been going on. And if you're not on board with all of that, then you're all of these things. You know, if you're not on board with all of the things that, for instance, Israel wants to do in the world, which, you know, I believe in Israel's right to exist. I have friends who live in Israel, all that kind of stuff. I got nothing against the country of Israel. However, I can be circumspect and see that, you know, nobody's perfect, and Israel is among those countries that is certainly not perfect. They've done some pretty shitty stuff to their neighbors, and I'm not saying their neighbors are clean either, but I'm just saying that there's a lot of blame to go in a lot of different directions, and if you're not being honest with yourselves, you can come down on one side or the other and think that all the blame lies with one side or the other. But you know, David Gilmour apparently agrees with his wife when he reposted this. Sadly, Roger Waters, you are anti-Semitic to your rotten core. Also a Putin apologist and a lying, thieving, hypocritical, tax-avoiding, lip-syncing, misogynistic, sick with envy, megalomaniac. Enough of your nonsense. I mean, there's a lot to unpack right there. It seems like there's probably a lot of history involved in some of those comments too. And it's hard to even know where to begin. I don't know what she's talking about with thieving. You know, I'm sure everybody lies from time to time, especially if they've been in business arrangements and or whatever, or long-term friends or frenemies, as he and David Gilmour have. You know, you can imagine all the interpersonal crap. Hypocritical, yeah, okay, whatever, you know, according to some, but tax avoiding, what's that all about, and how would she even know about it? Lip syncing, I don't know what's up with that really either. Yeah, man, just some weird stuff here. Misogynistic, you know, I mean, is she referring to something recent that's been in her direct experience, or is she referring to stories that she was told secondhand from the 70s when he was a young man? You know, it's just like, what is this all about? You just kind of are left to wonder. And then just the fact that David Gilmour, sadly, you know, thought it prudent to chime in with every word is demonstrably true, in total agreement with what she said. Just kind of sad. You know, I've had David Gilmour at the end of my criticism stick before because, you know, he sold a bunch of his guitars for millions of dollars. In fact, he sold a bunch of his guitars at one point, raising money for charity, which is all well and good. I mean, he has every right to do that. And who am I to say where he has to give his money that he rightfully earned? You know, I'm nobody, so it's really not for me to say. But by the same token, you know, all those millions that he raised from selling off a lot of his instruments could have gone to a children's charity, you know, some kind of research for cancers or something, or, you know, whatever. It could have gone to any number of things, right? But what does he donate it to? He donates it to this nebulous, the nebulous cause that everybody is worshiping at the altar of right now, which is climate change. Which, I mean, like, when I say nebulous, it basically, he just said climate change charities. So who knows what that even means? Who knows what kind of work is even being done to try to stem the tide of climate change? Are they sending activists? Is he funding the kids who go out and throw fucking paint on a Rembrandt, or, you know, on a Monet, and stand there, or chain themselves to the wall, or chain themselves to some, you know, something on the street, or, you know, is that what he's funding, the activism side, or what did his money go to that was going to stop climate change, right? The big boogeyman. Look, man, you can believe whatever you want about that particular subject. You know, that's not the scope of this video to try to convince you either way of whether climate change is real or man-made or whatever. But I would go so far as to say that this is being used in a political way, and it is going to be used because carbon is something that we all breathe out. It's something that all of our children breathe out. It's going to be used to try to reduce population, to try to tax us for the mere act of breathing. Everything that we do that transfers energy in one form or another usually is going to involve some kind of expulsion of carbon, if not some other so-called greenhouse gas. It was funny back in, I think, about 2006. I was all on board with it. You know, I was all on board with the whole thing. Oh yeah, man, we're all going to die because of global warming. You know, I believed it back then. I was more or less convinced. You know, I'd seen all this evidence, and at that time, I was fairly convinced. In other words, I'd seen, you know, some charts and graphs that showed some correlations, but did not, unfortunately, show causations, and did not have any kind of real proof of the origins of the warming of the planet. So, you know, when you go back and look at that, you do realize that the sun itself is the main driver of climate change on planet Earth. That sunspot cycles play a very large role. That there are natural cycles in the climate. There are El Nino and La Nina weather phenomena. There are lots of different weather phenomena, in fact, that are longer term weather phenomena that we don't fully understand. And the main problem with it is when you're basing your theories on models, anybody who's played with computer models for any length of time knows that the better your data set in a model, the better your predictions are going to be. And the problem with data sets and models is they cannot be infinite. They cannot chart the speed and temperature and direction and every vector of every single molecule in the entire atmosphere and the ocean all at once, and on land, air, and sea. And in order to fully predict, because of the chaos theory and the butterfly effect, in order to fully predict the climate in 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, you would need to know all of that data. You would need to know what the sun is going to do over that course of time. You would need to know, like I said, you would need to know the speed, direction, temperature of every single molecule of air on the entire planet, every single molecule of water, everything that's going on the land as well. And without all that information, your model is going to be flawed. It's only going to be a vague approximation of what may or may not happen. And I don't have that much faith in whether or not humans are mature enough to allow the data to speak for itself and not to fudge the data in the direction that they want it to go, so that they can convince enough people that, there's always activists who are going to get involved in science. And we've seen that so damn much. It is pathetic. It's wrong. And it's a way that people lie. It's being used to lie. So I don't like it, in short. But yeah, if you want to see what all Roger Waters has said, about things, if you go to rogerwaters.com/Berliner, you will see this interview that he gave on the 4th of February. I mean, this is not softball questions. These are hardball. Whoever was interviewing him gave him a lot of hardball questions here, and it was attacking him. But, he goes into a lot of the reasons that Putin decided to go do what he did and all this stuff. And it's definitely worth a read, because Roger Waters, whether you like the guy or not, or whether you agree with him, I don't agree with Roger Waters on very much, but I agree on a lot of this stuff. And he has a lot more answers for you, and a lot more straight answers than you're going to hear on the mainstream news. So if you want to see what the other side is actually thinking, it would behoove you to go actually read this and try to internalize what his side of the argument, and I share his side of the argument as far as this stuff goes, actually is. You know, he's like, anyone with an IQ above room temperature understands that when they read the news, the Americans admit it, that that we're risking nuclear war, and just, you know, that the U.S. and NATO, that we were provoking them, and that's what really caused this. That's really the root of this crap. And he even goes as far as to accuse the U.S. of propping up the coup attempts. Just lots of stuff here, man. Lots of truth bombs being thrown, and you know, you can choose to see it, or you can bury your head in the fucking sand, and it's entirely up to you which one you want to do. The problem is, in this world, the way it is right now, no one is going to be attacking you or coming to cancel you or demonetize you or shadow ban you or do anything whatsoever to you if you take the status quo point of view. But if you take the Roger Waters point of view, if you take the Guitologist point of view, you risk all of those things. So enter at your own risk. Okay, so on to the biggest, the biggest shit show. I've only seen clips, and thank God, because I could not have sat through the whole thing. The Grammys happened this past week. I usually don't follow even when the Grammys are coming on. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. It's like everybody around you kind of starts talking, or you see a commercial about chip dip or something, and you realize, oh, okay, well, the Super Bowl's coming. Or, oh, okay, the Grammys is coming. Or, oh, the Grammys just happened? Oh, I didn't know that. And that's usually the way that the Grammys creeps up on me. It's like, oh, I didn't know the Grammys was last night. All right, well, let's see what kind of nonsense went on this year. You know, that's usually my attitude at this point with the Grammys. At one time in my youth, man, probably, you know, definitely through the 80s and definitely through most of the 90s, watching the Grammys in the United States was more or less a family affair. My entire family would sit down and we'd all watch the Grammys, man. And I think pretty much everybody had something there to find enjoyment in. There was something there for everybody. There was something there for my mom to like. There was something there for my stepdad and me to like. You know, we're both into rock and metal and stuff. And there was usually a good performance, some kind of rock or metal or whatever. You know, there's somebody kind of exciting we wanted to see. That was coming on, you know, alternative music. You know, we liked a lot of different stuff. You know, there's some country acts that I love. And sometimes seeing that stuff on there, it wasn't that rare. But anymore, you know, anything that actually featured that what I would classify as real music is getting relegated to the daytime show. And that's what happened completely this year. And is it any wonder why their ratings have tanked more pretty much than at any point in the past? Now you'll see a lot of spin on this. You'll see. Well, here, let me just look here. Grammys ratings jumps to 12.4 million, the most viewers since 2020. Man, you know, they're really doing well, right? Variety says, oh man, they're doing great. And you know, CNN, oh, the Grammys, they rebounded. And all this stuff, but what they're forgetting is this is like the third worst viewing audience since like 1977 or something. I think was the stat that I saw. And oh my God, I don't know what's going. I mean, I know exactly what's happened to music. We're going to get into that in just a second. Some of the performances are just, I mean, it's the most ludicrous. It's a ludicrous display.
Did you see that ludicrous display last night?
Breitbart says here, an estimated 12.4 million people watched the Grammys on Sunday, either on CBS or the Paramount Plus streaming service. Grammys rebound from COVID years reached 12.4 million views, said the Associated Press. 12.4 million people tune in to watch Harry Styles, Lizzo, Bad Bunny perform, along with a tribute of 50 years of rap history. So basically they had this big tribute of 50 years of hip-hop. And it seems to me that the last 30 years at least has been a tribute to hip-hop every single year. I don't know why this year should be any different, and apparently neither did they. So that's up from the pandemic-affected broadcasts of the last 2 years. The Nielsen company said on Monday live viewership was 8.8 million in 2021, which I think was the worst, and 8.9 million in 2022, which I think was the second worst. While the Grammys bounced back, it didn't reach the viewership levels of pre-COVID days. Music Showcase Night was seen by 18.7 million people in 2020. See, live television viewership has declined across the board over the past few years, with pro football one of the few events to buck the trend. And I think even their ratings are down. But this wasn't the article that I saw. Was it this one, the Fat Satan Grammys? Yeah, that's exactly what it is. The gay Satan with they, them pronouns. Oh boy. The woke Grammys, complete with a cameo from Fat Satan, delivered another ratings catastrophe with just 12.4 million viewers. That means you should not believe the headlines like this one. Ratings Grammy audience surges 30% to hit a 3-year high. People are tuning out to this stuff. People are sick of watching this. They're sick of watching everything that's good about Western society be slowly and irrevocably profaned, mocked. And that's what this crap is. When you've got this fat fuck prancing around on stage, bathed in red light, in a fucking Satan costume, with they, them pronouns, while his transgender duet partner slinks around in a cage, probably a cage of his, her own mind, wondering why it cut its dick off and threw it away. This is what I don't get. I don't think most of America gets it. I don't think most of America cares about that kind of crap. I think most of America, in fact, is probably like me, and they're sick of seeing it. They're sick of seeing it shoved in our faces. It seems like everybody that makes it to that stage gets there because they have signed some pact with the devil. And at this point, they're making it overt that they have signed such a pact. You know, the devil used to be cool. He at least had cool fucking jams. He at least sounded like fucking Slayer. You know, and he rocked the fuck out. Back then, I could respect the devil a little bit. He sounded more like Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath.
They say rock and roll is the devil's music.
I could actually see, okay, at least there's an allure, you know, to Satan.
Let's say that rock and roll is the devil's music. Boy, at least he fucking jams.
At least he fucking jams, to quote the late great Bill Hicks. But not anymore. Anymore, he looks like this pudgy gay dude, licking his lips. Who wants to see that shit? I mean, honestly, who wants to see that shit? And if you do want to see that shit, you're on a completely different, I mean, you might as well be living on Mars. The other problem with these Grammys is that they didn't show anything this year on the main show, the evening portion of the show, that was related to rock and roll. Hardly at all. I think, well, here, let's look. So here were the big winners, basically. Wet Leg and Nirvana and Turnstile. And of course, Ozzy won some stuff, but he wasn't there. And they put him on the daytime show. And here's the guy. Yeah. Here these guys are accepting his reward for him.
Ozzy couldn't be.
Did you hear the applause there? It was like 5 people applauding.
Here tonight.
It's because nobody's there.
Robert Trujillo is here. We had so much fun making this album, and we got to unite Ozzy and Tony together and make a great song. So I talked to Ozzy on the car right over, and he had 2 messages for the people. I love you all, and fuck off!
That didn't make the main bill on the night. It was aired earlier in the day. Of course, this band Wet Leg made the cut for the nightly thing. This is a band headed up by 2 females who play guitars, so of course they're going to get pushed forward. And, you know, there's almost no charisma here. It's just like she's just looking around like, what do I do? What do I say? Who do I... You know, I can understand
so
being a little bit shell-shocked and all.
Thanks so much. What are we doing here? I don't know, but here we are.
But you should probably prepare some kind of little speech, like if you're a not if you're a rock star even, but I mean, even if you're new to the whole thing, and this is your first Grammys, and you're shocked that you won and all that stuff, I can understand that. But man, you know, you should at least practice in the mirror. It's like, what if I do win? Holy shit, I'm going to have to say something, right? In front of a bunch of people, in front of a bunch of cameras. And hell, you're a performer. You should be used to going on stage and at least having some kind of crowd banter. But the thing is, they're such a new band, they don't. They've been thrust into the limelight really before they haven't paid any dues. They haven't had to. They've written 1 album, but it's just like, you know, they're clearly being promoted very heavily, and they're also you know, very feminist. They're they had a complaint Yeah, listen to this. So they did this interview with Hayley Williams of Paramore. I was actually going to cover this several weeks ago when they first did this. I think it was back in December, maybe. And they claimed that male guitarists were being mean to them on the internets.
I think for us, one of the hardest or most irritating things about being women is probably just stupid comments on the internet. Like, she's holding that guitar, but she's not actually playing it. Like when, for example, I am just not using my guitar and then I need to play it in the chorus or something, there will always be a comment being girl, just girls shouldn't play guitar, women shouldn't play guitar, and it's just it's so dated, this but it's still there, and I just hate it so much, and it's so frustrating, and I just wish Sam session guitarist 54 would just shut up.
I hope that he listens to this.
Well, I created that altar account when I was only 15, and I just want you to know that I didn't mean any of that.
I feel you so hard. I really loved reading one of Sloppy Jane's tweets. It was a while ago, but it was something to that effect. There will be no equality in music until women can play mediocre rock music and be heralded for it in the way that some of these other bands throughout history have done.
Well, now they're the only ones allowed on the stage in the rock genre. Nobody else is allowed. Apparently, it's these guys, and you've got Bonnie Raitt, okay, which I love Bonnie Raitt, and I have no problem. Again, I don't know how many times I have to say this. I feel like I have to say this every single time. I've got no problem with women playing. Never have had a problem with women playing. But this idea that women are somehow still downtrodden now is absolutely bunk. It's absolute bullshit. It does not hold any ounce of water whatsoever. And it's that attitude that is dated. If anything is dated, it's that women have been held down and they're still being held down. No. Well, look at this. Okay, here we go. Rock right here. Ozzy Osbourne, Bonnie Raitt, Wet Leg, and Brandi Carlile. So you've got these guys from Wet Leg who are devout feminists. You've got Bonnie Raitt, who's, she's old school. Fair play. And you got this Brandi Carlile, who was introduced by her gay lover and their two daughters, presumably adopted daughters. I don't know the whole story there, but something, of course they had to drag the kids out and do that to them, which I don't know why you would ever do that. There's no reason for them to do that except to make a political statement, and I don't know why you would ever want to make a political statement using your kids as props. No, nobody in their right mind would ever do that. No parent that I know of would ever do that. Try to make some kind of political statement on live TV using their kids as props. They want to shield their children from that kind of crap. And the fact that these guys didn't see a problem with it, just tells you a lot. But, what does that tell you right there? I mean, there you go. Are women really downtrodden right here? I mean, are they? And then you've got this. Look who introduces Bonnie Raitt when she wins her award for Song of the Year.
And the Grammy goes to...
And is this any surprise? Jill Biden, the Democrat First Lady of the United States. I don't remember. I don't think there's ever been a Republican. Maybe somebody can enlighten me if I'm wrong, but I don't think any Republican has been invited to present an award on a Grammy stage. It would be nice if they even made some kind of pretense of balance, but they don't even make a pretense. So here's Wet Leg. Here's the extent of their creative genius.
On the chaise long, on the chaise long, on the chaise long, all day long, on the chaise long. On the chaise long, on the chaise long, on the chaise long, all day long, on the chaise long.
So there you go. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard. Yeah, it's repetitive. Yeah, it's fucking annoying. But it's not the worst thing. I'll give it. It's not the worst thing I've ever heard. At least it has guitars and drums in it. I'll give it that. But it's not some breakthrough level of genius. It's not going to change the musical landscape in the same way that a Nirvana or something did. It's not groundbreaking stuff. And everybody's treating it as if it's groundbreaking stuff, and I just don't hear it. You can go listen for yourself. They've got like 3 or 4 official videos on their website or on their YouTube channel. And you tell me what you think. Is Wet Leg, are they deserving of all these accolades that they're getting now? And it's, you know, and you can see what's happening. You know, they've been featured on Fender Player, and of course they have been featured on Fender Player Plus sessions. So Fender is promoting them too. You know, all the stuff, all their instruments and all their amps are all Fender, which, you know, fair enough. That's the way the ecosystem works. It just is what it is. You know, it's just, I just think about all of the wide world and all of the talent that's in, you know, we have like 7 or 8 billion people on the planet. And, you know, is this really the best that we have to offer? I kind of doubt it, you know, that this would be the best. This is just the stuff that gets promoted. And why is this stuff getting promoted? You know, because they're females, or because they're gay, or because they're trans, or because it's Jill Biden coming out on stage to promote being a Democrat, or it's, you know, it's all an agenda. It's all this, it's Satanism, overt, like satanic imagery, or Illuminati ritual imagery going on. And actually, I will say this: it's a good thing. All of this is a good thing. And people obviously are being turned off. They're not tuning in like they once did. People are just sick to death of the status quo when it comes to what's being offered up by Hollywood and by these California or coastal elites. We're just sick of it. We're sick of having this agenda pushed upon us, you know, that we have to worship Satan to be cool, or we have to believe in cutting off our dicks, all this crazy shit. And we're sick of it. We're sick of this crazy shit. It's more punk rock now to be Christian than it's ever been in my lifetime. Being conservative is actually, at this point, is the real punk rock. Because I don't know what the hell this shit is that they're pushing on us. So for some real context, as a means to expose just how bad these numbers are, back in 2017, 26 million people tuned in. In 2017, that wasn't that long ago. So you're looking at, what, 5 years ago? 26 million people. That's double the number that they currently had. It's more than double. In 2012, 40 million people tuned in. Since 1977, Grammy Award viewership has landed in the teens only on 9 occasions, 2 of those times in the last 2 years. Well, I think it's actually the last 3 years. It's been 3 of those times, so 8.8 and 8.9, and then, okay, it's nuts. You know, even if you throw those out, those 2, and actually, people were locked inside. They should have actually been tuning into this stuff. You know, during some of this stuff, it should have been lockdown season, and people weren't going out. So why weren't they tuning in more in 2020 and 2021? It doesn't make any sense. It seems like it would have been bigger, not smaller. This is an award show that has consistently drawn 20 to 30 million viewers between 1976 and 2019. Between 2010 and 2017, the Grammys consistently delivered in the mid-20 millions or better. In 2012, nearly 40 million tuned in. The very idea that 12.4 million, which is the 3rd worst in Grammy history, which is so bad, the 4th worst, which is so bad that the 4th worst is 17 million. That far off the 4th worst somehow constitutes a rebound is a joke. And this is why I kind of take heart, because this stuff is not going to fly. You know, you can't put a fat ass in a Satan suit and prance him around on stage and put a transgender in a cage and think that it's going to spark enough controversy that middle America is going to give a shit again, because we are not. If anything, it's going to turn us off even more. It's going to turn more people back to Christianity. Actually, there's probably going to be a revival of that, because people are going to start to recognize, man, I don't like where the world's going anymore. You know, we had all these lockdowns. We had these sheep, these literal sheep, bowing down, just prostrating themselves to everything that was that they were given, everything that they were told to do. They just laid down for it all. And then we come back out of it and we have this shit to look forward to. This is what's happening to our culture now. You know, they're tearing down our statues. They're making everything in Western culture absolutely profane and an absolute mockery. And they think it's okay. Well, it's not okay. And we're not going to participate in it anymore. We don't care. I put up a poll. So I know this is a very tiny sample size, but I put up a poll over on my locals page, asking everybody what they thought of the Grammys, or if they watched any of it or a part of it. Or so who watched any part of the Grammys this year? Comment your thoughts. Watched all of it? 0%. Watched some of it? 0%. Watched none? 100%. Of course, that's only 39 people, but that's almost the entire population of my supporters all over on local at the moment. So none of the people who support my locals watched a single minute of it. Which is not surprising because they no longer have rock music or metal music on there. And the alternative music that they have is something basically that they plucked up off the Isle of Man because it was two females and those were the only ones that they could find who had an album out. I mean, what else are you going to say about it? It's just absolute nonsense. And I think people are sick of it. I'm certainly sick of it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Okay, so that'll do it for this Shitpost Friday. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I know it's kind of been me ranting a lot and whatever, but like I said, I think this is a good thing. I think people's eyes are being opened because of the actions of the people who want to tear down society, and I think it could really only get better from here. Don't quote me on that because the shit could really hit the fan. You know, I think we've reached the nadir, and it's time for us to start going the other direction. It's time for us to start having some hope, making some kick-ass albums, and saying fuck you to the people who are trying to tell us what's good, and we know damn well they have no idea. Anyway, that'll do it. See y'all later.
You guys want to see something super messed up? I'm an independent rapper, but I have the #2 pop song in the country right now, and I'm trying to hit #1. I'm gonna show you the difference between an independent artist and a mainstream artist, and why it's almost impossible for independents to compete. The #1 pop song in America is Unholy by Sam Smith, and these are the song credits. 2 major labels are behind this song, Capitol and EMI. 7 songwriters wrote this song, and 7 producers produced this song. The #2 pop song in America is Ghost by me, Tom MacDonald. Ghost has 1 writer, me, 1 producer, me, and 0 major labels. 16 people worked on Unholy by Sam Smith. 1 person worked on Ghost by me. Support your local independent artists. We're literally up against a machine and we're fighting it with like a stick.